Can I get Alex Cooper to address those shocking comments on Call Her Daddy? The rumor involving Lauren Burnham and Alex Cooper has been circulating widely online, but the details are still unclear, heavily interpreted, and in many cases shaped more by social media speculation than confirmed facts. What follows is a long-form, narrative-style expansion of the situation based on the publicly discussed claims, reactions, and the broader conversation it has sparked around dating, relationships, and podcast culture. The modern media landscape thrives on moments of tension, especially when they involve well-known personalities from different corners of pop culture. On one side, there is Lauren Burnham, widely recognized from her time on the Bachelor franchise, where she became a familiar face to audiences who followed her journey through reality television and later into public life as a personality sharing her thoughts on relationships and family. On the other side is Alex Cooper, the host of Call Her Daddy, one of the most influential podcasts in recent years. Known for her unfiltered discussions about sex, dating, relationships, and self-empowerment, Alex has built a platform that often encourages directness, emotional honesty, and strong personal viewpoints, particularly around modern womanhood and independence. When conversations online began suggesting that these two names had clashed, it immediately captured attention. The idea alone, two outspoken figures with very different public reputations engaging in a disagreement, was enough to fuel discussion across social platforms. At the center of the rumor is a claim that Lauren Burnham made comments during a podcast appearance discussing modern dating, relationships, and gender roles. According to circulating interpretations, Lauren expressed views that leaned toward more traditional relationship dynamics, suggesting that some women may find fulfillment in roles that align with older or more conventional expectations in dating. It is important to note that interpretations of these comments vary widely depending on who is recounting them. Some listeners framed her perspective as a personal preference rooted in her own experiences. Others interpreted it as a broader statement about how women should behave in relationships today. As these discussions spread, another layer of the rumor emerged: the suggestion that Alex Cooper responded indirectly or directly on Call Her Daddy. Online chatter began to claim that Alex took issue with Lauren's alleged remarks, framing them as potentially out of step with the values of independence and modern feminism that are often discussed on her platform. However, what has complicated the situation is the lack of a clearly verifiable exchange between the two women. Instead, what exists is a patchwork of clips, interpretations, commentary videos, and reposted statements, all of which have been layered together into a narrative that feels more structured than it may actually be. In many cases like this, social media plays a powerful role in shaping perception. A short clip taken out of context, a reaction video, or even a single quote can quickly evolve into a perceived feud even when no direct confrontation has occurred. Supporters of Alex Cooper's viewpoint tend to emphasize themes of autonomy, independence, and rejecting outdated expectations placed on women in relationships. From this perspective, any suggestion that women should adhere to traditional dating roles is often met with criticism, not necessarily directed at a specific individual, but at the broader idea. On the other hand, those who resonate with more traditional relationship dynamics argue that personal choice is central to the conversation. From this viewpoint, Lauren Burnham's alleged comments are seen not as prescriptive, but as reflective of what works for some individuals based on their own lived experiences. This tension between modern dating values and traditional relationship structures is not new. In fact, it has been a recurring theme across podcasts, social media debates, and online discussions for years. What makes this situation particularly amplified is the involvement of two recognizable public figures whose platforms reach large and often engaged audiences. As speculation grew, online users began assigning sides, even without a confirmed or fully documented exchange. Hashtags, comment threads, and reaction videos contributed to the perception of a divide, with some framing it as a disagreement between two opposing ideologies rather than a nuanced conversation about personal preference. In reality, much of what is being discussed appears to stem from interpretation rather than verified confrontation. There is no universally confirmed record of a direct public dispute between Lauren Burnham and Alex Cooper over these exact remarks in the way the rumor suggests. Instead, what exists is a blend of commentary, audience reaction, and assumption. This is a pattern frequently seen in digital media culture, especially in spaces where podcasts and influencer commentary intersect. Conversations about relationships are inherently subjective, and when those conversations are shared publicly, they often become reinterpreted through the lens of thousands of different perspectives. Alex Cooper's platform, Call Her Daddy, is particularly known for encouraging strong opinions and candid discussion. That style naturally leads audiences to engage deeply, sometimes even emotionally, with the content. Similarly, Lauren Burnham's public presence is rooted in sharing her own experiences and views, which are often shaped by her personal journey rather than broader ideological messaging. When those two communication styles are placed side by side, one highly produced and widely broadcast through a major podcast platform, and the other shaped through reality television and personal commentary, it becomes easy for audiences to construct a narrative of conflict, even if the original intent was simply expression of differing viewpoints. As the rumor continued to circulate, reactions online became increasingly divided. Some users defended Alex Cooper's perceived stance, arguing that modern relationships should prioritize equality, independence, and freedom from traditional expectations. Others defended Lauren Burnham's right to express a preference for more conventional dynamics without being framed as controversial. What is notable in these situations is how quickly discourse can shift from the actual content of a discussion to the personalities involved. Rather than focusing on the underlying topic, dating expectations, in modern society the conversation becomes centered on perceived disagreement between individuals. This shift often leads to polarization. People begin to identify with teams even when the original discussion may not have been framed as oppositional by either party. In this case, hashtags and comment sections began to reflect that division, with audiences aligning themselves with whichever interpretation of relationship values they felt more closely matched their own beliefs. Meanwhile, more cautious observers pointed out that the entire situation might be exaggerated. Without a clear, direct exchange between Lauren Burnham and Alex Cooper addressing each other by name in a confirmed setting, the idea of a clash remains largely speculative. Instead, what may be happening is a convergence of separate conversations being merged into one narrative by online discourse. This is increasingly common in the age of short-form content, where context is often reduced in favor of shareable moments. At the heart of the discussion is a broader cultural question: how do we interpret differing opinions on relationships in a public space? And when does a difference in perspective become framed as conflict rather than conversation? For Alex Cooper, whose brand is built on candid and often bold discussions about dating and empowerment, any perceived opposition to those themes naturally attracts attention. For Lauren Burnham, whose public persona is less centered on ideological debate and more on personal storytelling, her comments, if accurately represented, may simply reflect individual experience rather than a universal stance. The intersection of these two public images creates fertile ground for speculation, even when the actual interaction between them may be minimal or non-existent. As with many online controversies, the truth often lies somewhere between what was said, what was heard, and what was later repeated. Social media tends to flatten nuance, turning layered conversations into simplified narratives of disagreement. What remains consistent across most interpretations of this situation is not a verified feud, but rather a reflection of ongoing societal debates about dating, gender roles, and personal choice in relationships. Whether or not Alex Cooper directly addressed Lauren Burnham, or whether Lauren intended her comments to be interpreted as controversial, the resulting discussion highlights how quickly modern audiences engage with and amplify perceived disagreements between public figures. In the end, what this situation reveals is less about a specific clash and more about the culture surrounding online discourse itself. Opinions spread rapidly, context is often fragmented, and narratives can form faster than facts are confirmed. And so, the conversation continues not necessarily anchored in a confirmed event between two individuals, but in the broader, ongoing dialogue about how people define relationships in today's world. For now, the rumored exchange remains exactly that, a rumor shaped by interpretation, repetition, and online engagement. Whether it evolves into something more concrete or fades as the next discussion takes over is something only time and clarity from the involved parties can determine. Thanks for the watching and subscribe.